Welcome to Real Talk with Karia Christopher, the conversation. Our new season is filled with heart-to-heart dialogues, always unscripted and always unedited. We tackle issues from the bedroom to the boardroom. No topic is left unturned. We inspire and we ignite. We go where no one else dares, but always with dignity and flair. Join us for a new season of Real Talk as we learn, love, and laugh together. Hello BVI, hello world. Welcome to Real Talk with Karia Christopher. I am all smiles today because I know it's going to be a great show. I am not going to tell one of my great friends because I'm tired of getting cussed about saying that for everybody, but he truly is another one of my Sea Cows Bay brethren. And I almost think that he wants me to say Real Talk with the Honourable Julian Willock, but that would be a wish for him. I'm so very pleased to bring to you for the first time in this studio, Honourable Julian Willock, the Honourable. How are you, sir?
I am great. I am humbled for your kind invitation, and I promise I will not take over your show.
No, I want you to be exactly who you are.
I'm tempted to, but I will not take it over.
I want you to be exactly who you are. It's going to be a heavy-hitting hard show. And I must say, he let me know when he came how he had to miss 2 appointments to come to this show. And I'm saying, you should be honored to be in this show. So,
well, it tells the power of Karia Christopher. I mean, I missed 2 events this morning,
yes,
2 funerals,
yes,
to be here.
But I also
what
said
a
to
sacrifice!
I did also say to him, the Bible also says that the dead bury the dead. But we are so happy to have you. We have 1 hour to go through so much. Julian Willock, the Honourable Julian Willock. Don't worry, on the scroll we'll make sure we put Honourable. How does it feel to hear those words coming out of everybody's mouth, of Karia Christopher mouth, as I introduce you as Honourable Julian Willock, young Julian growing up in Sea Cows Bay, going to Ebenezer Thomas Primary School, and now you are at the peak of your career, Honourable Julian Willock. How does that make you feel?
Well, I must say I'm humbled. I'm thankful to those who made that possible, the Honourable Premier and the ruling government. Mm-hmm. And I must say that when I was elected as Speaker, I had no opposition in the House, so one can assume that I was elected unanimously. So, but I take it with great humility. These are moments in one's life that comes, and when they come, you have to take the opportunity not to be too overly ambitious, or not to use it to show off or to boast, but to be humble and to be thankful for, the small things.
So I have had access to the Honourable for forever, but I wanted to talk to you when I thought that things had settled down. You've always been so much on the headlines. Is it fair to say that most of your adult life, you've been a controversial figure?
Well, it's how you are describing controversy. I mean, I don't think I'm controversial. There are decisions that are made that may get the public's attention, that people may not like, that people may have different views on. Mm-hmm. And it's usually public decision, issues of public policy. Mm-hmm. And, in the age of social media, in the age of talk show, in the age of real talk, that everything is magnified. So I don't know if I accept the premise that I'm controversial.
He doesn't accept it.
But
okay.
I have made decisions that have gotten the attention of the territory.
So it is easy for you to sit here in your wonderful suit, looking very coiffed, I might say. She ain't gonna get a whole lot because you have on the LV shoes and everything. He looks really, really well.
You're making me blush.
No, do you look? And I feel so honored when guests really dress up, because this is the premise and this is a platform that I want you to dress as if you're coming to the best place for the day. But it's easy to come on and somebody like you who are very good with words and say that it's the premise of the job, and you come to a lot of titles and it comes to a lot of, and maybe even hardships and public scrutiny for sure. But at the end of the day, when you get cut and I get cut, all of us bleed the same color, red. How do you cope with the public onslaught of, can I say, mostly negative comments in regards to some of the very controversial decisions that you've taken, one, as the Honourable Julian Fraser as the Speaker of the House. And we'll talk.
You said Julian Fraser.
Julian Willock, but you know, you're in good company. You're in good company. I do love Julian Fraser too. Julian Willock.
Look how Karia's calling me out of my name.
He was ready for me. He didn't even let the R come out. Honourable Julian Fraser was at this very same seat and we had lots of laughs.
He's a good man and he's both of our friends.
He's a good man.
And our representative.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So the decisions that you've made as the Honourable Julian Willock, and then we'll get to talking about the other hat that you wear with your entrepreneurship, and I know you're going to say the #1 news media in the British Virgin Islands. How do you cope with some of the negative comments and very public onslaughts that sometimes are really tough to even hear as somebody outside looking in? Is this face just for the cameras? How do you cope outside of the cameras, outside of the public mechanisms?
Well, firstly, I respect democracy.
Yeah.
And I respect free speech and the right of people to disagree with the Speaker of the House, disagree with the government, disagree with the opposition, and disagree with you. Mm-hmm. And we live in a society and we have to cherish at all time democracy. Mm. And I don't take things personal, whether it's when before I was Speaker, one could have labeled me as controversial. Mm-hmm. I became Speaker. Some continue to label me as controversial. But I take it with a grain of salt. I listen. There are times when there's a public outcry. One must listen. One must take stock. One must adjust mm-hmm. their position on mm-hmm. things, because we live in a democratic society, and I am not sitting there twirling my finger in sadness because someone criticized me. Once you're in the public domain, you have to be thin-skinned. Your skin has to be thick, and you have to understand that this is a democracy, freedom of press. I draw the line though. If people start getting physical with me,
of course,
or if they get to the area of libel and slander, that's where I draw the line. But legitimate criticism, I welcome it, and I continue to listen.
So you're here because you wear two different, very huge hats, and so it wouldn't be me. And I want to talk more about the honorable hat, but just for a minute, you talked about, you cherish freedom of speech. Do you cherish, or do you think there is some hat that you should wear in ensuring also responsible journalism?
When you say responsible journalism, what do you mean? So you mean people asking, you mean the media asking questions?
The media asking questions, and you as, now this is not your honorable hat, this is you as the platform of Vino, Virgin Islands News Online, having responsible journalism in terms of your headlines, in terms of some pictures. What are your thoughts when people say you are single-handedly restructuring good journalism in the British Virgin Islands? And this is just, maybe it might be a minor amount of people, but there is that narrative out there that Vina in particular may need some assistance in having responsible journalism. Is that a fair assessment?
Firstly, let me just put everything in perspective. Since I became Speaker in 2019, I've withdrawn myself from Virgin Islands News Online, the editorial board. So in effect, I have nothing to do with writing stories,
I understood that.
Telling them what to write, deciding headlines, what blogs goes up, who is covered. I have zero to do with that.
But do you make money from it still,
what I do with Vino is the revenue side.
There you go.
If you have an ad, you can still call me even though I'm Speaker.
Right.
But the day-to-day operation, that is headed by a editor-in-chief, and they have full editorial control without my influence. If there's something comes up now where we become legally responsible, then maybe I will get involved because our partners will have to now seek legal representation, etc. But outside of that, and that's not only the issue of responsible journalism is not limited to one news site. I think all the news sites, the headlines have been less than flattering. Some of the things they write has not been accurate. And especially some of the newer media houses, they're in a race to reach where Vino is. So sometimes there is things.
We love you.
There's things that is written that is not accurate.
Correct.
Yeah. So, but the day-to-day operation, I have zero to do with that. But I agree with your premise. There needs to be a rethink and a relook at how we use social media, how we use Facebook, how we use morning shows. You hear a lot of wild accusations on some of these morning shows. So we all have a responsibility. All the media houses have a responsibility.
I like how you make sure you're saying that. Everybody.
They have a responsibility to be accurate, to be fair, and not set up headlines and say things that they know are not accurate.
Okay, we're going to come back to that later on, but I needed to make sure I inserted that. So you put that thinking cap on, knowing that.
I'll put a pin there.
Yes, absolutely, because we will we definitely have to revisit that. But as the speaker, you, for sure, we can say in the history books that you will certainly be one of the speakers who you will not forget. I can sit here in my very much adult life and I cannot remember some of the speakers in past years. Some people you just forget who they are. You also
I don't know if that's true.
Tell me what I feel.
We've had such wonderful speakers in the past.
That I can't remember everybody else.
Keith L. Flax has been a good speaker.
I'm not saying
Inez
good.
Archibald, Roy Harrigan.
This is where he.
There's so much.
This is where he thinks this is Real Talk with Julian Willock.
There's so much speakers that one can remember.
I can't remember their name, that they weren't good.
Okay.
What I want to ask you is that we know, good or bad, we will remember the Honourable Julian Willock. We can say with certainty that you're not a pushover. Please tell this audience some of the wins that you think that you've made as Speaker of the House in this century.
Well, firstly, as Speaker, I think I serve at the pleasure of the members of the House of Assembly. There is this notion that the Speaker is not elected, and that is a false notion. The Speaker, according to Section 69 of the Constitution, is elected. He's elected by the members of the House of Assembly. So that's an election. And that election must be respected. Maybe what they meant is that I have not been elected through universal suffrage. And that's by everybody electing a Speaker. But the Speaker is elected. We had a unique situation in 2019. When I became Speaker. There are 4 political parties in the House. Each political party could have submitted a candidate to be elected as Speaker. So that's the system we have, where someone can be brought from outside, someone can be brought from inside the chamber. So in effect, I was elected because we live in a Westminster system. And for example, Dr. Smith, when he was the Premier of the Virgin Islands, he was elected by his political party. Same thing with the Honourable Andrew Foy. They were elected as the chairman, but no one can now, one can't say, well, he's not the premier because everybody elected him as premier. That is the system we have. So for the record, I was elected as the Speaker.
He never even given me to ask a question, Shane.
Within the House of Assembly, but I guess what people refer to is not universal software.
What are the wins elected Speaker of the House? Give me one
You talked about some of our accomplishments?
Yes, under you, that you specifically are personally proud of. Give me one.
Well, there are a number of things that, and I don't say I will say we, because I have a good team there. I have a very good Deputy Speaker, Honourable Neville Smith, the Madam Clerk, a good staff at the House of Assembly, and also the entire 15-member body, because it's 13 is elected through universal suffrage, and then 2, one is elected by members and one is appointed a public officer, which is the Attorney General. So we have 15 members of the House of Assembly. I think some of this 4th House of Assembly is historical. Within a little less than 3 years, we've had over 80 bills passed.
We were discussing
in the House
that
of
is
Assembly.
Historical.
Over 80 bills.
Can I make you pause for a second?
Sure.
There? Is that not dangerous in your mind?
Well,
in 3 years, 80 bills that have been passed.
No.
What's the rush?
No, it means that the lead of government business has an ambitious legislative agenda, and he has sought to execute that agenda. And that agenda, for the most part, has been bipartisan, meaning both sides. There have been probably 3 or 4 bills that they were opposition to. But for the most part, upwards of 90% of the bills passed in the House of Assembly has enjoyed the support of both sides of the House. That's one big accomplishment.
Pause, because he still thinks it's his show, so I gotta pause you there. Is it truly bipartisan when there is such imbalance in the House? is it truly bipartisan when the government that is currently in has such a huge majority?
Okay.
It really doesn't matter what the opposition really says. I mean, they could vote no because I want to be in a record, but does it really matter at this point? Can you really call it bipartisan?
Well, the cabinet only has 5 persons.
Correct.
So all the rest persons are either backbencher or junior minister or the opposition.
Mm-hmm.
So there could be a time when a bill fails, when members from the government side do not support a bill. It has not happened.
I was going to say,
And I don't see it happening, but it's possible.
Okay.
It's possible that backbenchers and junior ministers to vote against a bill. It's possible in our system.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I interrupted you, so I want you to continue and list in one additional other win.
The other thing is that I think we've restored attention to the House, where people are now anxious to see what goes on in the House. So there's been an awakening of our legislative process. A renewed awakening. I'm not suggesting or casting any aspersion on former speakers or former members that no one paid attention. But there has been, in my humble view, an awakening of the matters of state, of what happens in the House, of the debates, of the bills presented, the resolutions presented, etc. 2 other things that we have accomplished quickly, and I know we only have an hour. The Versailles Youth Parliament. We were able to restore that after it was dormant for 6 years almost. So we were able to restore that, swear in a group of about 23 young people as youth parliamentarians. And we were able to have our first debate in the House of Assembly by the Youth Parliament. And the Versailles Youth Parliament now is under new leadership. The new chairman is the Junior Minister for Tourism, the Honourable De Castro. And I know that she's going to do a wonderful job. So that's another accomplishment. 2 weeks ago, I led a delegation to the United Kingdom, where we went to look at the United Kingdom Parliament, to look at some of their norms, some of their laws, their statutes, some of the powers of the Speaker, their committees, members of Parliament, their security. And something like that has never been done before. Because if we are talking about self-determination, and we want to stick with the Westminster system, one of the first things we're going to have to do is strengthen our institution. And a good start is to strengthen our House of Assembly. Okay.
Fair enough. Now, you mentioned the Youth Parliament, and congratulations in restoring, if I use your word, I think a very important aspect of the young people's life, because I think those persons who represent in the Youth Parliament will have perhaps even a bigger impact than the actual ministers themselves, because they can relate.
Yeah.
So people have been accusing this of being a publicity stunt. They're there, nothing happens, they had one debate. What is the purpose except to say that we restored it for 6 months?
No, I reject those who have said that, because we have gone through.
This is not the host, but go ahead.
We have gone through with the Youth Parliament a series of workshops, trying to bring them up to speed on the Constitution of the Virgin Islands, how to dress as a parliamentarian. We have dealt with the standing orders. We have gone through, about, I think it was 6 or 7.
So what is the purpose of the workshops?
The workshop is that these young people will leave whenever the Youth Parliament is dissolved with a better understanding and consciousness of how Parliament works in the BVI.
And how does these young people that has these 6, 7, 8, 9 workshops benefit the rest of the people, my children and your children who are not part of the workshop?
Well, I'm sure that they will pass on knowledge. You know in anything that everyone can't be a member of the Youth Parliament.
I get it.
But the 23 of them are better equipped now to understand governance, to understand the role of the opposition, the role of Parliament, the role of the executive branch role. So we have a cohort of young people better equipped to understand how government works. And they can use that for access to the members in terms of their views, their platforms, etc. So I think the Youth Parliament is a wonderful thing. And as I said, I have full confidence that the new chairperson, Honourable Sherry De Castro, will pick up where we left off. And it's run by a committee. It's not a one-man show. we'll pick up where we left off and propel the youth parliament. I'm actually looking forward to the next debate.
Okay, well, I look forward to the next debate too.
Yep.
And I love young people, so I wouldn't put a stain on any questions I would possibly have.
Your questions are very good.
So we talk about those wins, and then you let me know before I even, because he put it out that Shane, we're gonna have to put / Real Talk with Karia and Julian just for this one show.
Because I would take over your show.
No, it's okay, but you see Karia name comes first, it's fine. It's okay. So we talked about the wins. I always like to start with something positive. But do you acknowledge that there have been some, I don't want to say lows or some losses, but some detracting parts of your leadership so far? For instance, as a tax-paying person in the British Virgin Islands, I think everyone who pays tax has the ability and the right to say how they feel that their tax money should go. There has been a big debate on the Honourable Julian Willock hiring some lawyers for the COI. And you will tell us if we're right or wrong, because this is your chance to clear the air without authority, causing the taxpayers, Karia Christopher Quartz, upwards of $100,000. The masses, if you believe in the public saying, felt unanimously, and you will tell me if I'm right or wrong again, that you should pay that $100,000 back. There has been dead silence now. We have not heard one word as to what is the update. And so what do you say to folks who feel that this is in essence a cover-up, and we have to know as persons who pay taxes who will pay that money back? Why, if you don't pay back, why you won't pay it back? And how was that, for lack of a better word, was that process mismanaged?
Okay, I think you're probably conflating a lot of different issues here.
You're telling me what I think you know. Well, go ahead.
You will recall that I think it was 2021. The ex-governor, Augustus Jasper.
Yes.
And we know him and his reputation. He called for a commission of inquiry.
Yes.
Into governance, and he was in London claiming that the BVI is corrupt, and I think he made some libelous statement that there are people in office, high office, involved with drug deal, So that's what I mean when I say we know him, because of his character and things that he said without evidence has preceded him.
Okay.
But that's aside. So he called for a commission of inquiry on the BVI government, and you saw how they had members of the House of Assembly parading across with no respect for House, no respect for the institution of the House. When I'm supposed to be having sitting, my members are required to go before this commission.
Correct.
So the House of Assembly, not the Speaker, the House of Assembly voted and agreed at an informal meeting to hire legal counsel for members, because the executive branch, and in our system, there are 3 branches of government: executive, premier, governor, the legislature, speaker, members, and then the judiciary, Janice George, and the judges, etc.
I learned that now. Okay,
yes,
good. Thank
3
you.
branches of government. So while the executive branch had legal counsel already hired, the legislature decided that we needed legal counsel also. And not only that we needed legal counsel, one of the things that they said to their credit, and nobody knows this, is that they wanted the common person on the street who might have been dragged before this commission to also obtain legal counsel. So I was instructed by members to write to social development about their legal aid program, and also to the BVI Bar Association about some pro bono in case regular citizen, the regular man on the street were called before this inquiry. So it was just not something for them, it was also looking out for the masses. So they voted and agreed to hire legal counsel, which we did. So it wasn't a speaker on his own hiring legal counsel. This is a decision by members of the House of Assembly.
Executive branch.
No. Members of the House.
Members, sorry.
Yeah, the legislature.
I'm sorry. Yes,
because remember, the executive branch already lawyered
they
up.
They have their lawyered up,
and
yes.
now the members of the
legislature. They lawyered up
legislature.
on taxpayers' money, and now
Yes.
the House of Assembly is now lawyered up on taxpayers' money.
Well, we are, because the Commission of Inquiry would have been inquiring of us in our official capacity.
Understood.
So we can now, in our private capacity, get a lawyer.
I understand.
So that's why taxpayers.
So this was a vote. This was not Julian Willock's decision.
Julian Willock's decision.
What happened with the narrative?
Now after that, it was discovered by all lawyers at Silk Legal that there were 3 lawyers working in the territory without permission, which is a violation of the 2015 Legal Professionals Act.
They did not have the BVI back, correct?
Exactly. They have not been called to the bar.
Correct.
And this was also confirmed in writing by the Madam Honourable Attorney General. Okay. So what we were advised is to file an injunction, because after this was discovered, the commissioner, Hickenbottom, said to his 3 attorneys, well, you're practicing illegally, go to be called to the bar. The Deputy Speaker and I, on behalf of members of the House, with their knowledge, objected to the application. We filed an objection to the application. Okay? So Judge Vicky Ann Ellis made it clear that we had standing to do so. So a date was set. I think the date was set for a hearing in October. We were told that same year that the Commission of Inquiry that had gone on break is resuming in September, and the case was in October. So all we did now, after getting permission from the members to hire lawyers, after getting permission to file the objection from all members, what we did now, and this is where it gets a little tricky, because technically we didn't go back to members, at least the Speaker didn't go back to members and say, I'm filing an injunction. Although I spoke to some members from government.
Informally.
Yeah, some members from the opposition, some from government. So we file an injunction to say, until the hearing in October,
where they would have passed the
because they were starting again in September.
Understood.
So we are saying now, this injunction will say you cannot work in the BVI until we have the hearing in October.
So in that sense, you have to wait that month out.
Yes. So Hickenbacker could have brought in new lawyers and continue his commission. At no time, Karia, was the intention to stop the Commission of Inquiry. It was the position of the legislative branch. We will cooperate with a transparent inquiry. It was, on my understanding, the same position was that of the executive, headed by the Premier. That's our position. So everyone was on the same page. We are cooperating with a free and fair Commission of Inquiry. So the little ticklish part here now, because we didn't go back formally to say we filed an injunction, because everything was moving so fast. Because an injunction is urgent relief. Something is happening, you're asking the court to give you urgent relief. So it was, I think the court was on break, and we were suddenly assigned some British judge called Judge Jack.
You have such wonderful words. Wow.
And Judge Jack asked the question whether, after the injunction was filed, whether I had permission from the Attorney General to file it. And we never sought her permission, because already the House of Assembly said, lawyer up, protect your members. We got permission again. We filed an objection. We lawyered up. So the next step now, since we filed the objection, was the injunction to have them hold off. So now the judge said, because I didn't get permission from the Attorney General, that then the filing of this must be paid in my personal capacity. So that's where the whole thing, that's where you had all the this and that.
Shirley, did you know that? I did not know that.
So that's what went down. So it's not like the Speaker is rogue out there just hiring lawyers and wasting tax. It's far from the truth.
So then the question then goes, Honourable Speaker, who is in charge of your narrative? Why did you allow, I have to say you, because you are not a pushover. You said it very eloquently here. I am not a lawyer. I think I have as much knowledge as the average public person who's following the COI to be vested and to know where is the money going. This was a very messy statement there. Are you not in charge of the narrative when it comes to your honorable name to explain to the public this is what happens? Because that made, I don't know if I agree with the whole thing, but it made legal sense at least.
But you see, the thing was, and I believe, just like governors, speakers must be heard in the House, governors must be heard in cabinet. You can't have a speaker out there in a different space, in the public relation area, talking about himself, one has to be measured.
Understood.
As a speaker, one has to be disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel strongly, speakers and governors need to stay in their space.
So that's why you hire people to speak for you.
The speaker needs to be in the House, let it be heard in there. The governor needs to be heard in cabinet. Remember we had a governor up in Long holding press conferences from Vortigata to Adigata?
I don't remember.
Oh, I don't know. I'm taking off the speaker hat now. This is my personal view.
Correct.
You elect 13 person, let them be in that political space, talking about the policies and what they want to do. Not governors, not speakers.
So then,
so I pulled back and did let the narrative run. Although at some point I spoke out. I don't know if you heard. I did hear 2 or 3 interviews just to at least clear the record.
Not as clear as this one, I may add.
Okay, well, once we're with you, clarity always comes naturally.
There you go. Because I wonder, because I've listened to it and I follow anything.
That's all that's happened. And the principle, Karia, is the principle here. And I guarantee you, as I sit here, I will be vindicated. The principle here is that there must be one legal system in the BVI. Mm-hmm. You cannot have a legal system where they come in, break the law, and get away with it. And then we have 120 persons up in jail. Parents, mothers have called me crying, saying that their sons have been on remand for 2 years, for 3 years. No justice for them. But you have a situation here where people don't understand what happened, where you want to have two judicial system. And now recently I'm hearing about this controversy with Friendly Martin Jr., or a friend who went to school with us, about what happened, how it happened, is there cover-up to system because of color, So we have to create, especially if we're going to be talking about self-determination and fixing institution, the law of this country must apply to everyone, whether you're Julian Willock, whether you're Karia Christopher, whether you're the small man on the street, whether you're the 120 in prison, the laws must apply. Whether you're a UK lawyer coming to work in the BVI, we must have a system where everybody feel that there's equal justice for all. And the principle of what's going on here, the principle of why that injunction was filed is because the rule of law must apply to everyone. And the Attorney General admit in writing, go ahead. The Attorney General admit in writing that they were in violation. A senior member of the bar also placed it in writing that they were in violation, and he objected to their application. So it's not that the speaker is just out there on his own. And I know there are people in the BVI who don't like Julian Willock, and that's natural.
We'll get to that.
Because, you can't like everybody.
And that is fine, as long as you know when you wear these hats, you're not going to like...
Of course, you're not going to be liked by everyone.
But we want to take you to... Just stick a pin in this for a little while, because we got to got some people to pay for all of these words. And talking about that, we think that you should be sponsoring these shows, a shameless plug, because but we'll be back in 2 minutes, in 2 seconds, as we get to talk about the man, Julian Willock himself, and who you are, and what do you see for yourself in the future outside of the hats that you currently wear now. BVI The World will be back in 2 minutes and 2 seconds. How can you connect with people authentically from the heart? Nothing replaces the human connection better than communication. And nothing will be able to get you further along than to connect with other people. Today, I am offering you personalized one-on-one coaching on public speaking, negotiation, body language, all the necessary tools to make an impactful statement. It's about shoulders back, head straight, mastering the power pose, and giving your audience of 1, 100, or even 1,000 the biggest impact that you can dream of. I take you on a personalized journey in a private setting, holding your mic, standing at the lectern, and being authentically you, true to yourself, being a better communicator. My services will ensure that you are prepared for your next job interview accepting a public contract, speaking at a wedding, a campaign event, addressing the boardroom. The possibilities are endless. We will ensure that you are prepared and ready to shine, no matter the audience. My many years in front of the camera with thousands of interviews, hundreds of hosting engagements, dozens of boardroom deliveries, and yes, my certifications have prepared me to teach you the tricks of the trade and prepare you for your next big step in life. I cannot think of anything in life where communication is not important. I am Karia Christopher of the Charm Academy, where we will make your voice your best asset to help you succeed. Call us today.
Elevate your experience with Flow's fiber-fast internet and mobile combined. Enjoy double data and talk time on 4 mobile lines. Plus up to 100 megabits per second fixed internet speed at the best rate, giving you the best value to stay connected. Visit a Flow store to sign up today.
And we are back here with the Honourable Julian Willock. And in a nutshell, folks, he just gave to us in layman's terms why he will not be paid $100,000 back out of his personal funds.
Well, you know, let's get the record straight.
Let's get it straight.
I never said whether I will be paying it or not.
Oh, so it's an open that you may pay it back?
Everything is open because the Premier and Minister of Finance have set up a select committee in the House
So I heard.
to investigate
So I
and
read.
review what recommendation will be made to him to pay that $98,000.
How can I get to the Premier to remind him that time almost up? You need to know what the
How
recommendation
you can get to him?
Yes.
I think the Premier is accessible.
How can I tap the Premier and say, hey, Premier, you remember that recommendation that we're supposed to have? But what's going on?
In your other hat as Director of Trade, I think that's your minister.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So I'm sure you have access to the Honourable Premier.
I think I'll have access more as a neighbor in that particular
Oh, you see?
in that particular question.
You have all kind of access to the Premier that I don't have.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the fact is now we have to wait until the committee that was selected says
Make a recommendation to the House.
and
then for a decision by the House.
I know if the committee had said Karia Christopher should pay $100,000 back, I would be
And-
balling on the street.
And for the record, it's 98,000.
We wronging it up. We already discussed we wronging it up.
Why can't you wrong it down?
It sounds better with $100,000. Pain and suffering.
Well, let's not wrong up or down. Why don't we be accurate and just say 98,000?
Can we see inflation change? But if it happens so that Julian Willock has to pay back this $98,000, I think he can handle it.
Oh, you think I can handle it? Well, I will be on the street with a little teacup.
Well, not you.
Begging for contribution. I'm sure those who love the speaker will contribute.
And I'm sure
And those who love
justice.
justice will contribute.
Listen, so tell me, we briefly talked about some of the injustices in this world, in the BVI, like every other country.
Yes.
It feels like you're feeling it a little bit more now. I don't know if it's because of social media or maybe because of persons that we know are being impacted, but there are a few things happening specifically with the male population, and not all great, unfortunately. Lots of premature deaths, allegedly associated with strong, whether drug ties, gun violence, or whatever. As a man with a son whom I generally like, he's such a sweet young man, what words will you have to encourage these young men out there who appears, and we have to say appear, that they want to get rich very quick and live the fast life and have all the things that they see a Julian Willock has? You know, they want to wear the LV shoes and drive the big car and that kind of stuff, but they perhaps don't have the education that you have, or perhaps they didn't walk the road that you have, but they want that life right now. And it appears that a lot of them are coming to very early deaths. What words do you have to those people who are looking at you, who are looking out there, like, I want to be like you, I just want to do this, I want to get this, and pacing themselves and giving them encouragement in a world like we are today?
Well, firstly, I'll say to young people, especially young men, that we have to get back to some old-fashioned values. And everyone don't have to be a politician, or everyone don't have to be in a suit and tie. There are a lot of young men who work hard every day, young entrepreneurship. They own boats that transport people back and forth to the U.S. Virgin Islands. They have their own business, their mechanic shops, all sort of things. So everyone don't think that because you're not in a shirt and tie. Sometimes those of us who in short and tie, we are, I don't want to say broke, but we're financially challenged. So don't think that the only way to make money, to earn money, is through a shirt and a tie. There are a lot of technical entrepreneurship, plumber, mason, that also is another way of earning money. What I will say to young men is that you have to work hard for what you want. And for the most part, that you need an opportunity. Because the problem is some of the young people are not given that opportunity. So they have to turn to the alternative lifestyle. So I will say work hard, stay in school, listen to mommy and daddy, and get a skill. If you don't get a skill, go to college. Everyone can't be on the academic side. There's some of us, as I said, has skills. They're good with hands. They can make things. They can fix cars, and those are important profession as well as being in a shirt and a tie.
And for the most part, I agree with almost everything you said there, but there are a few things that I didn't quite capture right. You said listen to mommy and daddy. You do understand that everyone does not have a mommy and daddy here.
Yes, that's true.
And they don't have the opportunity to even earn a skill. You do understand that there's a big population now here in the BVI that grew up in domestic violence, that don't understand that there is a rainbow to the end, and that they feel, based on what they have seen and been exposed to, the only way to get to a life outside of this poverty is to do drugs or to do something that's unscrupulous right now. You, with the hats that you're wearing and all of the people that you know, you're proudly wearing your Rotary pin. How do you head up that field where you get to those young men? Because I have two, what I'm going to say, gorgeous daughters.
They are.
Love them. And I make zero apologies when I say I would love for them to be married to what God has ordained, but God's going to ordain the best. And I don't know that we should train all girls to accept mediocre. So how do we, and mediocre does not mean not wearing a suit or tie. So don't call me and say it has to be suit or tie. That's not what I'm saying.
Oh.
But you want people who want to be successful, who want to work hard in whatever their craft is.
Of course.
But the Rotary hat you're wearing, other hats that you're wearing, how do we get to those young boys who are 8 and 9? I have a sister who's an elementary school teacher, and she comes with some horror stories with what children have been exposed to. And that is where you change lives and change perceptions at that age and give them the opportunities there. So what are you doing in those hats that you wear to help that set of generation?
The reality is, Karia, is that the BVA have not been spared from all the social ills that affects every big city.
Yeah.
We have not been spared the issue of drug use, the issue of broken home, the issue of only a mother raising a child. All the issues are right here in the Virgin Islands.
Yeah.
We will have to do as a collective is we're going to have to help. We're going to have to lean on government to pour some money. And I'm getting out now of the speaker's space and talking as a citizen.
Understood.
We're going to have to persuade the government to spend more money in the issue of social services and strengthen the social services department. We're going to have to lean on the churches. The church is going to have to play a bigger role in mentoring young people, not just young men. There are a lot of females in this country, a lot of young ladies in this country are also feeling isolated, feeling discriminated against, not have access to jobs, just like the male. So we're going to have to lean on our government or church or community and different organizations. Rotary Club, and I'm a proud member of the Rotary Club of Central Tortola.
Hey, you just carry on, boy.
Yes. But all the organizations, the Lions Clubs, the Red Cross, we're going to have to all come together to help fix and reduce some of the problems. And I'm aware that the social ills in this country is real. There's homelessness in this country. There are people going to bed hungry. And they just start in 2019 or 2018 or after the pandemic. These are issues now going on 10 years. So we have not been spared, as I said earlier.
Yeah.
But we're gonna have to collaborate. All these organizations are gonna have to really show their method. They're gonna have to really show that they're truly out there helping the community. And it's good to send money here and there to help eradicate polio or help a hurricane in some far land, donate for Ukraine war. But we have to be focused on some of the ills right here, because the struggle for young people in this country is real.
I agree.
It's real.
I agree.
And the social ills are real.
We agree on something here, Shane. We get it
and,
there.
and it's not a matter of blaming any government.
No, I
That's why I'm
understand.
saying
I absolutely
that people tend to think that these things just happened the other day or because there was a change of government. These social ills have been here around for about 10, 15 years. And they're now, with after the hurricanes, a pandemic, floods, they have now magnified. So we have to collaborate. All these social organizations and all the Rotary clubs all over, instead of just having meetings every day and finding people and having a good time and bonding, they need to roll up their sleeve and get on the ground and try to reduce some of the social ills in this country, trying to help some of the young men.
I am very passionate about that stuff myself, and so therefore that's something I really, like to hear other people passionate about, because this is our generation that we need to be able to craft for the future. Who will be the next you, the next me, the next James Talma, the next whatever, so that our little island has success that to come, And so, as I said, our little island, I know you have been very, very vocal. That's one of the things I like about you. I don't know that any subject is something that's forbidden. You've been very vocal in the past about our European brothers and sisters that live here in the BVI. We talked a lot about social media and how persons use it as a vent to be able to speak about things that are bothering them. Now, we have a rainbow of colors here in the BVI. And generally we live very well. My youngest daughter chose now to go to another school that is called a PWI, but I'm a white institution.
Okay.
I'm a little nervous.
Why are you nervous?
I'm a little nervous.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that, but that's another show, but okay.
I went to a school where it was 90% Caucasian.
Hence how you be now, but it's okay.
I didn't lose my identity.
I never suggested that.
Okay.
In the BVI, do you think that we are in jeopardy in the BVI of losing our identity? We have been considered to be a melting pot. That can be good or bad depending on the lens that you look at it in. We have known for years and years and years, and I say this almost in many of the more controversial shows that I have, that the BVI landers, or indigenous, if we can actually say that now, is the smallest percentage. And so you have folks from every place of the world. And I like to call it a little New York. And that's how New York got to be great and wonderful, because you needed people from all over the world to get to what they're at. The BVI is a much smaller place than a New York, so we can't look at it as apples and apples. But what are your thoughts on this new rhetoric where I hear now that we are losing our identity? When you talk about politics, you generally expect to have someone that looks like you to be the premier. The reality is, come next year, we can have someone that does not look like you. We can have a Caucasian BVI lander, born and bred, run to be the premier. Is that something that you would be okay with?
The reality is that we live in a multicultural society.
Correct.
And there are people from all races who have been born in the BVI. There are Filipinos who have been born here. There are Europeans who have been born, South Africans, Nigerians. And you can't deny anyone who is a legitimate citizen of the country by the Constitution from running for office or having any benefits that is prescribed in the Constitution. So it's not a matter for me to say whether a Caucasian should be the premier or Caucasian not should be the premier.
I should have said a Caucasian. It should have been anybody who is not.
I will say that the BVI is unique. I have no issues in embracing our brothers and sisters from the Caribbean Islands. My father, a lot of people may not know this, was from Montserrat. That's where the Willock comes. On my mother's side, I'm about fifth or sixth generation, so I consider myself indigenous.
I don't agree with that, but okay.
People would know
You can't be
Joshua
indigenous
Lennon.
if you half or use Montserrat.
No,
Go long,
Where,
but go ahead.
Where your mother from is where you're from. And my mother is from the BVI.
All right, okay.
So,
Another discussion.
yes. Yes, once your mother is from a place, you're from there.
You see how he takes a lot to make it work for him, but go ahead.
But on my mother's side, I'm about 4 or 5 generation indigenous.
Indigenous.
Yes.
Strong BVI blood.
Strong BVI blood.
Okay.
So, but we have work to do to preserve our identity, to preserve our lands, to preserve our economic stability, and to work together.
So why is it such a tough discussion when what you just said in terms of preserve our identity and preserve our land, why is it just a tough discussion? Why is it such a combustible discussion when a BVI lander who has 5 generations down to the core say some things must be reserved for BVI landers only? For instance, if my children are both in the US, I went to school in the US and I did very good academically, and most schools now have so many different little scholarships that you have, and every single time I tried to apply for anything because, I didn't come from a lot, so I was trying to supplement. It would say big in red, US citizens only apply, and I never got upset. Maybe disappointed, but I never got upset. I understand that the US government has to educate their own first without apologies. I am here in that country to get a better education, because at the time, my country wasn't able to give me the same education that I wanted. And I respected the land, I respected the laws, and I respected all of the policies that they have. And they still do it till this day. You try to go to St. Thomas now and you don't be vaccinated, you can't get in there if you're not a US virgin or American citizen. Yeah. And we accept that. Why is a conversation so difficult when we here say that this should be resolved only for BVI landers? BVI landers first. BVI landers only apply. What's happening with the narrative? Or should we now be able to open up and say everyone should apply? What's going on there?
In every country, every country in the world that I've studied and looked at, there are certain rights and privileges that's reserved for the nationals of those countries. People, as we'll say, who born here, who can trace their generation back. And I don't see any problem with that happening here. In the terms of the labor market, they will say, not that it's in practice, but they'll say BVI landers or belongers prefer, and those are practices that I think we should maintain. There should be nothing wrong in Virgin Islanders saying that there are certain things, even in the trade department, there should be certain trade license reserved for nationals. It happens in St. Kitts Nevis. It happens in Trinidad and Tobago. It happens in the United Kingdom. It happened in the European Union. In the European Union, unless you're a member, there's certain privilege that you have as a member of the European Union. No one is calling that discrimination, but they will want to call it discrimination here. So I am strongly in favor, strongly in support for certain things being left alone and be handled and be for us, Virgin Islanders.
Those 5th generation ones like you.
Well, the indigenous Virgin Islander.
I see we have 2 minutes, but go ahead.
And I will want to see, and this is my personal view, I'm taking off my speaker's hat. I will want to see, and I'm strong about this, and I hope that I'm not offending anyone, but I will want to see some plank in our new constitution that speaks to the rights and the privilege of indigenous Virgin Islanders. I know there might be debate as to what the term means, but I think most of us know what the term means. Indigenous Virgin Islander is someone who has been born in the BVI. One or both of your parents have been born in the BVI, along with tracing your grandparents, your great-grandparents, at least 4, 5, 6 generations. That's an indigenous Virgin Islander. There must be something in the front that protects them. Not in any way to discriminate against any other race.
You can't do this without discriminating, though.
But I'm saying, not in a traditional sense.
I understand.
But every country that I looked at have certain things reserved for their nationals. As I said, the European Union, and those of you who in school studying law and have done your EU law, will know that there's certain things where membership has its privilege. And there should be nothing wrong because we are a smaller footprint. So we have to preserve certain things for us.
Well, I know that is something now that we're looking into the Constitution. And so we'll see how that plans out. But it almost feels like a forbidden term to use. You're forbidden to speak about this area should be reserved or this should be reserved for BVI landers. And I've had this discussion many, many times, and I have a lot of friends from the Caribbean, friends that I love. And that always is the pace that splits us apart.
No, it's not unusual. It happens all over the world.
And I just don't understand why it feels so different here in the BVI, because if somebody, and I know I have 1 more minute, Shane, but this is something that I know you can handle these type of conversations. If the argument is this: I have been living here for 25 years. So I have lived most of my adult years here. I'm 48, I don't know. I should not be discriminated at the word discrimination. I should get everything Karia Christopher is getting, because I'm not going anywhere else after that. So why do I feel like I'm not?
Well, if you live here a certain amount of time and you become a belonger, then I have no objections in you getting what a Virgin Islander will get. You know, Virgin Islanders, belongers, they're almost the same.
Almost, but you just said that fifth generation strong there. So therefore,
well, yeah, but that the issue of indigenous must be in the Constitution.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying.
So to protect that class of people.
So there has a belonger and there's an indigenous BVI lander. The verdict's still out on you because you just half BVI lander there. So I don't know where you going with this.
Where your mother is from is where what is
Careful.
from. And you know that.
They're going to go back in the reels and look at this show. And they're going to say, the Honourable Julian Willock said, I don't mind that my mother from St. Kitts, and no problem with the St. Kitts, please don't come from me, I'm just using a reference. But I was born here, and well, my father from St. Kitts, but my mother was from here. And so therefore, I am from here. Even though I lived all my life in St. Kitts, I just come back when I was 28. I am belonger because that's what you're saying.
Once the Constitution recognized two things. Recognize
the current one.
Recognize BVI lander, either one or both of your parents are from here. So the Constitution recognized. And then in the issue of indigenous, at least you can trace 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 generation.
So therefore there are a lot of layers.
Yes.
Layers.
So you can't say indigenous if you're just a first generation, none of your parents are from here. That is all. So not even one.
So there's the layers, there's a tear.
You must be top tear. You must be able to trace. And I know some people... I need to have a conversation
just like this. So there are literally tears of status here, as you describe it.
Stairs at status, there is Virgin Islanders and belongers. But then to get a belonger, you would have married someone from here.
Correct.
Or you were here for 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
That means you were born outside the territory.
Correct.
But when you're talking about a Virgin Islander, this is somebody who's born in the territory.
Indigenous.
And can trace either one or both of their parents to 2, 3, 4, 5 generations.
So I'm going to take it a step further just because it's you. There is the belongers, which we know. And then there's the Virgin Islanders, which you can trace the steps. And there's the indigenous. So you're the Virgin Islander and I'm the indigenous.
No. I'm indigenous. because of my mother. I'm considered indigenous.
The Honourable Julian Willock, man, the time is up. It is always such a good time having you here.
It was a pleasure.
These are the discussions
and by the way,
you
said you love my son, so I hope you'll write a check for his college tuition.
Listen to him. He has one child. I have 2.
So I hope I'll see a check in the mail for Chad's college tuition.
He's a very sweet young man, and we didn't even get to talk about that other part, but time, it is what it is. But as always, it's always a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
And not afraid to tackle the tough questions at all. So we look forward to see what the future holds for you. We look forward to see what happens next for the Honourable Julian Willock.
And let me say for the record too, I'm not running for anything.
I didn't get to ask none of those questions.
I'm not running for anything in 2023, so no one needs to be fearful.
So we have 2027. He said fearful.
Fearful of my interview.
So let's put it out there, folks, before we end. He's going to run in 2027. I wonder if there was a Julian Willock running in the 3rd district and a Karia Christopher running in the 3rd district.
Lord. Here you go.
I said that because I know that there's a certain station that likes clickbait. So let's see how this is going to work. But we're not going to say who that station is.
Let me end by saying I'm not running for anything in 2023.
He didn't say forever, though. He didn't say ever.
So nobody has to be fearful of this little interview.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am cackling absolutely too loud, but you bring that out to me every single time. I'm very thankful that you took the time out of your busy schedule and missed 2 funerals to come here.
Yes.
And I apologize to the families of the deceased. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I know that your job has to be had, and from the outside looking in, most people can really make whatever comments they want and whatever judgments they want. But I think we all have to agree that it takes a person of tough exterior to do what you do and do it without apologies. So I am thankful to know you and to definitely say that we have known each other before you were honorable.
Yes.
Before you could have worn those LV shoes, from way back in there. When you were shopping at JCPenney, I knew him. So the Honourable Julian Willock, thank you again. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
You make my job very easy and lots of laughter. So BVI, as I say every single time, I'm very humbled to be in your bedrooms and your living rooms, wherever you're hearing me on the airwaves. I take pleasure in being able to tell my guest story, and today is like no other. And so thank you for allowing me to tell your story in a very small way. I love you, BVI. I love you, world. God bless you all, and have a safe rest of the week. Real Talk is proudly powered by Flow, sponsored by Nagico Insurances.